Winslow Just Wants to Sing by P.J. Hawkins. What a beautiful day, thought Winslow. The sun was shining brightly, and the gentle breeze blowing across the field caught his blades, making him sing a cheerful little tune. He loved everything about living on a farm, watching the sun rise over the wide open fields, and the smell of the tractor plowing the fresh dirt at planting season. And though it may be hard to believe, Winslow, even liked the barnyard smell. It wasn't always the most pleasant odor, but there was just something about the scent of the farm that brought a joyful feeling to him deep down inside. He loved watching the dark clouds rolling in just before a storm, and the smell of the rain as it made its way across the wide open fields. He especially loved it when the storm brought with it strong winds that would turn him from side to side, spinning him like a top, causing his blades to turn so fast that his singing could be heard all the way inside the farmhouse. The farmer always made sure he was securely anchored and planted the most beautiful flowers all around his legs. He was sure he could not be happier. He had the perfect life. But one day, as the wind changed his direction, he noticed a sign in the yard in front of the farmhouse. It read, "For Sale," in bold red uppercase letters. "Oh no," thought Winslow. "They're selling the farm? Surely this can't be true." What would happen to his perfect life if the farmer moved? But it was true. It wasn't long until the moving truck came and loaded up the farmer's belongings. The farm had been sold to a developer who had plans to turn it into a huge subdivision. The dirt paths that the tractor used when it plowed the fields and harvested the crops would soon become paved streets. There would no longer be corn or soybeans growing in the field. Instead, there would be houses. Lots and lots of houses. The sounds of the birds singing, the horses neighing, and the cows mooing would be replaced with the hustle and bustle of cars with busy commuters rushing to and from work. Winslow felt very sad. He would miss the farmer and the way things were before he moved away. He knew that change was a part of life, but he didn't want things to change. It wasn't long before some men in yellow vests came with chains and wrenches. They unfastened the anchors that held Winslow securely in the ground and loaded him onto the back of a large truck. They took him to the city and unloaded him inside a giant auction house. The auction house looked a lot like the grain barn on the farm. It was filled with all kinds of farm equipment, tools, furniture. Winslow had always lived outside, so being inside felt very strange. There was no smell of rain, no sound of tractors, and no breeze to make his blades sing. Life inside the auction house was much different than what he was used to. Everyday people visited, and on occasion they gathered in large groups for something called an auction. The auction was led by a man with a loud voice who talked really fast. So fast, in fact, that you could barely understand what he said. He was called an auctioneer. The people held up cards with numbers and even shouted out from time to time. It was interesting to watch and often made Winslow laugh. But still, Winslow missed the outdoors. He missed the farmer. He missed the sights, the sounds, and the smells of the countryside. But most of all, he missed singing. loved how the wind gave him a voice. When the gentle breeze blew, his song was soft and the tones were quiet. When the storm winds blew, his song was deep and loud, as if it were coming from his very heart. Oh, how Winslow wanted to sing again. But the inside of the auction house never had a breeze of any kind. In fact, it didn't even have windows. Time passed before one day, Winslow spotted a man wandering around the auction house. He didn't look much like a farmer, and he didn't seem too interested in attending an auction. He walked over to where Winslow stood and just stared up at him. It made Winslow feel a bit peculiar. Why is he staring at me, and what could he possibly want with a windmill? By the looks of him, he was for sure someone from the city. Please don't let him buy me, thought Winslow. I want to live on a farm again. But before Winslow could give it another thought, the man was backing up his truck, and suddenly Winslow was being loaded onto it. He was then covered with a black tarp and fastened to the truck with bungee cords. It was scary under the tarp. It was so dark, and Winslow had no idea where he was going. They traveled a long distance, but when they finally stopped and the tarp was removed, Winslow could not believe his eyes. There was a little white house surrounded by fields of corn. The man carefully unloaded Winslow from the truck and placed him directly in front of a big window at the front of the house. He anchored him securely, then planted flowers around his legs. If only there were just a gentle breeze, Winslow thought. He wanted so desperately to sing again. As Winslow stood quietly in the stillness of the evening, much to his surprise, from the little white house he heard a sound he had never heard before. He was filled with excitement. Winslow had always been the one singing. For the first time in his life, he heard someone else singing, and it was wonderful. Winslow wanted so badly to sing along, he tried and tried, but without a breeze, it was impossible. As he stood there trying hard to make his blades turn, Winslow began to smell rain. He noticed dark clouds moving across the evening sky. There was a storm blowing in. The wind started as a gentle breeze, but soon began to blow harder. It blew so hard that it caught in Winslow's blades, and at last he was able to join the singing coming from the little house. Winslow was right. The man was not a farmer. He was the music man. Day in and day out, the music man made beautiful music. Sometimes his music was soft and quiet, and other times it boomed with energy that made it hard for Winslow to stand still. From that day on, when the wind is still, Winslow listens to the beautiful music of the music man. And when the gentle breezes blow, or the storms roll in across the field, Winslow sings along with him. Together, they sing in perfect harmony. Now, once again, Winslow has the perfect life. The end.